starting where we left off at the note number 27, titled Hall and Muqam, referring back to page 141. I'll just read the last paragraph of the note. Where there is hall, there is duality. When one from the seventh plane comes down to normal consciousness and establishes himself on any plane for the sake of duty, then that particular plane becomes his muqam. Thus, for the Kutub, the Sadguru, there is no hall, there is only muqam. Ordinary men, who are by nature emotional, can enjoy ordinary hall while listening to music, but this is a pseudo-hall and is not to be compared with the spiritual hall of a pilgrim on the path. So back to page 141. And the very last sentence that note referred to is, he is that man-God who brought down independent reality into illusion and controls illusion from the divine office of his beyond state, Vidnyan Bhumika, or Muqam and Muhammadi. The very life of this man-God, our perfect master, is the Sahaj Samadhi. Such a perfect master is at one and the same time, simultaneously, in all the universes and in all the worlds, on all the levels and on all the planes, living the life of the one and the all. His life is that of living, also on particular levels and on particular planes, as every creature, and as an individual of that certain level and of that particular plane. At the same time, together with living the life of God, he lives the life of man on this earth. There's an asterisk. In the words of Meher Baba, quote, perfection does not belong to God as God, nor does it belong to man as man. The finite being who is conscious of his being finite is obviously short of perfection. But when he is conscious of his being one with the infinite, he is perfect. Thus we have perfection when the finite transcends its limits and realizes its infinity, or when the infinite gives up its supposed aloofness and becomes man. In both cases, the finite and the infinite do not stand outside each other. When there is a happy and conscious blending of the finite and the infinite, we have perfection. The editor. Editor's note. In this state of Kutubiyat, it may be said that God overlaps Godhood, which means that the consciousness of God, after pervading everything, still remains infinite, unlimited, and unbounded in this beyond state of God, while remaining eternally conscious of the beyond state of God. The fourth divine journey pertains to the dropping of the Kutub's body, Sharir. Even after dropping his body, the Kutub eternally remains consciously and individually as God the Infinite, and the individual and indivisible state of I am God, of the state of Phanafila, which is the goal, is everlastingly experienced. That is, even after the body or the human form is dropped in the fourth divine journey, the experience of conscious, infinite, indivisible individuality is retained eternally as I am God, everything infinite and unbounded, one without a second. Similarly, God in the state of Bhakabila, where the apparently dual role of consciousness of I am God and I am human is manifested, is naturally enacted under the cloak of illusion, knowingly and consciously donned, is dropped. I'm going to read that one again. Similarly, God in the state of Bhakabila, where the apparently dual role of consciousness of I am God and I am human is manifested, is naturally enacted until the cloak of illusion, knowingly and consciously donned, is dropped. That is, when the human form or the body is dropped, the experience of conscious, infinite, indivisible individuality is retained eternally as I am God, everything infinite and unbounded, one without a second. God is existence, eternal, infinite, and all-pervading. Since God is eternally infinite existence, it follows that there are an infinite number of states of God, infinitely and eternally existing. But fundamentally there are only two states of God, the original state and the final state. The original state is the beyond state of God, where eternally God is and consciousness is not. The final state is the beyond state of God, where consciousness is eternally of the God is state of the beyond state of God. Read that one again. The original state is the beyond state of God, where eternally God is and consciousness is not. The final state is the beyond state of God, where consciousness is eternally of the God is state of the beyond state of God. The same existence as God prevails eternally, whether it is as the beyond state of God or as the beyond state of God. The only difference is one of consciousness. In the beyond state of God, the existence consciously realizes itself as existing eternally as the beyond state of God is. Therefore, the divine goal is to realize the I am God state, where existence consciously realizes itself as existing eternally as the beyond state of God is. This is the reality, and the conscious realization of this reality once gained is retained eternally. Invariably, it manifests itself in no other forms but in human forms of the earth, in different divine states of God, through different divine statuses of Majzubiat, of Turiya Agastha, or Fana Ma'albaka, of Salukiyat, and of Kutubiyat. All other intermediary states of God are illusory states, where the same eternal, infinite, all-pervading, one, indivisible, formless existence as God, though not realized as the eternal reality, asserts through its very being in assuming forms of infinitely innumerable, inanimate, and animate things and creatures as lifeless and living states of God, while in the process of gaining full consciousness of the eternal reality of infinite existence. All these intermediary, illusory states of God thrive in the illusion of cosmic creation through multifarious and diverse gross, subtle, and mental impressions of illusion. And though the entire cosmic creation is illusion, yet it serves the purpose of a divine incubator, where consciousness of the divine incubates, and where such incubation produces the maturity to realize the eternal reality after the consciousness is nurtured and progressively developed through multifarious, diverse, and finite impressions and experiences of the opposites, of the gross, subtle, and mental forms and worlds of the cosmic creation. In the illusory states of God, the eternal, formless, infinite God, while being impressed by his own cosmic creations, gains consciousness first of the gross forms and experiences the gross worlds, then of the subtle forms and experiences the subtle worlds, then of the mental forms and experiences of the mental worlds, and eventually attaining consciousness of his unlimited self, experiences his eternal state. Consequently, when God is conscious of his gross forms, he identifies himself with the gross bodies and finds himself as a particular gross body according to the special impressions of that gross body. This means that the infinite, eternal, formless God finds himself as finite, mortal, and having gross form. The cause of this ignorance is but the impressions, sanskaras. So God, who is eternally in the beyond state of Parabrahma, or in the infinitude state of God is, in the beginning acquires ignorance through being impressed by the impressions rather than by acquiring knowledge of his reality. Hence, when God acquires a particular form, body, or sharir according to particular impressions, he feels and experiences himself as that particular form, body, or sharir. God, in his stone form, experiences himself as stone. Accordingly, in consonance with impressions and their consciousness, God feels and experiences that he is metal, vegetation, worm, fish, bird, animal, or human being. Whatever be the type of the gross form, and whatever be the shape of the form, the evolving consciousness of God tends God spontaneously to associate himself with that form, figure, and shape, which tends him to experience himself through impressions that he is that form, figure, and shape. Similarly, when God is conscious of the subtle body, i.e., the pran, then God experiences the subtle world and regards himself as the subtle body or pran. Likewise, God becomes conscious of the mental body, the mana or the mind, experiences the mental world and regards himself as the mental body or the mana, i.e., the mind. It is only because of impressions that the infinite God, the Oversoul, without form and infinite, experiences that he is veritably but a finite gross body in the gross sphere, the Jivatma in Anubhuvan, or a subtle body in the subtle sphere, i.e., the Jivatma in Pranbhuvan, or a mental body in the mental sphere, i.e., the Jivatma in the Mano Bhuvan. God, while experiencing the gross world through gross forms, associates with and dissociates from innumerable gross forms. The association with and dissociation from gross forms are called birth and death respectively. It is because of impressions that the eternal, immortal, formless God, or the Oversoul, without births and deaths, has to experience births and deaths a number of times, while God has to experience those innumerable births and deaths because of impressions. He has not only to experience the gross world, which is finite and therefore false, but together with it, he has also to experience its happiness and misery, its virtue and vice. All forms, figures, and shapes, all worlds and planes, all births and deaths, all virtue and vice, all happiness and misery, experienced by God, who is eternal, formless, and infinite, are the outcome of impressioned consciousness. Since all impressions are but the outcome of the nothing that manifested as the nothingness, it means that whatever God experiences through his evolved consciousness in the gross, subtle, and mental worlds is the experience of the nothing. And as this nothing by nature is nothing, therefore all the experiences in the intermediary illusory states of God are nothing but literally illusion, and as such false and finite. Only when the impression consciousness is freed from all impressions is liberation or mukti in human form attained as nirvana or fana, where only consciousness is and where all else of the nothing, which was as nothingness, vanishes forever. Only in the case of the one who retains the body, asterisk, Meher Baba explained, those who do not retain their bodies for 3 to 4 days, but drop their bodies immediately after nirvana, attain liberation, mukti. So only in the case of the one who retains the body for 3 to 4 days. And another note by the editor, time does not exist for anyone who is in nirvana or for the one who has attained liberation. The period mentioned, 3 to 4 days, holds meaning only for the understanding of those who are gross conscious and are bound by time. Back up again. Only in the case of the one who retains the body for 3 to 4 days after nirvana does the liberated or the unimpressioned or impressionless consciousness invariably realize eternal godhood in the second stage of fana, i.e. in fana phila, and assert itself as I am God without doubt. This is the nirvikalpa state of undoubtedly I am God, when literally the impressionless or unimpressioned consciousness linked with human form realizes I am God, I was God, and forevermore will remain God, as existence eternal and conscious. In this way, man becomes God, and it is said that man is God realized, or that the Jivatma in Paramatma has become the Shivatma in Paramatma, or the Oversoul. The eternal reality is that Paramatma, or the Oversoul, is Atma, or the Soul. And this reality is realized only when the impression consciousness, as Jivatma, becomes the impressionless or unimpressioned consciousness as Shivatma, merging in Paramatma to assert and realize the identity of Paramatma. If in reality Atma is Paramatma, How then could any situation arise for Atma to merge in Paramatma? In order to clarify this situation and understand that Paramatma is Atma in reality, we compare Paramatma with an infinite, limitless, and shoreless ocean. Therefore, Atma, which is Paramatma, can never be out of bounds of the limitless and shoreless ocean, i.e., Paramatma. Atma can never be out of Paramatma because Paramatma, which we have compared to the limitless and shoreless ocean, is infinite and unlimited. How could Atma come out of or have a place beyond the expanse of the limitless when Atma is Paramatma? Hence, Atma is in Paramatma too. Now, in order to realize that the Atma which is in Paramatma is in reality Paramatma itself, let us imagine that it is possible to separate or take one iota of the ocean out of the limitless expanse of the unlimited and shoreless ocean. It follows, then, that this iota of ocean, when in the limitless ocean, is ocean itself before separation, and was in the unlimited ocean, not as an iota of the ocean, but as the ocean itself, because every iota of ocean, when not limited by the limitations of being an iota, is unlimited ocean itself. It is only when the iota of the ocean is separated from the unlimited ocean, or is taken out of the unlimited ocean as a drop, that this separated iota of the ocean is looked upon as the limited drop of the unlimited ocean. In other words, the infinite, unlimited, and shoreless ocean now is made to look upon itself through the drop as merely the limited drop of that infinite, unlimited, and shoreless ocean. And in comparison to the infinite, unlimited, and shoreless ocean, this drop of ocean is most finite, most limited, and now has infinite limitations. Similarly, Atma, as compared to the drop of the infinite ocean, can never be out of any limitations of the limitless and infinite Paramatma, as compared to the infinite, unlimited, and shoreless ocean. But just as the iota of ocean acquires its limitations as a drop through a bubble on the surface of the ocean, and just as this bubble bestows upon the iota of the ocean an apparent, separative, and limited existence apart from the infinite ocean, likewise Atma, which is not only in Paramatma, but which is Paramatma itself, apparently experiences and asserts separative existence from the infinite, unlimited Paramatma through the limitations of the bubble of impressions, which bestow conscious ignorance, and with which Atma shrouds itself and experiences itself as limited and separate from Paramatma. Through these limitations formed by the bubble of impressions, self-created by Atma, Atma apparently inherits a separative and limited existence from Paramatma, and because of this self-created separativeness from the infinite Paramatma, Atma, which is itself infinite, unlimited, and unbounded, bestows upon itself the aspects of being most finite and most limited, with infinite limitations acquired through impressions. As soon as the bubble of impressions bursts on completion of total involution of consciousness, and conscious ignorance as impressioned consciousness is transformed into conscious knowledge as unimpressioned consciousness, the limited and the most finite of experiences of the Atma vanish. Atma, liberated from apparent separative finite existence, automatically merges in or finds itself as one with and in Paramatma, eternally infinite, unlimited, and unbounded in the beyond state of God. And this is called Atma's union with Paramatma or Allah. In this state of consciousness, Atma is now completely conscious of the beyond, unconscious Parabrahma state of God, which is the original state of God when it is said God is. In Sufi terms, God in the beyond state is termed Allah, and God in the beyond state is termed Wara ul Wara or Gaib ul Gaib. In the human form, the highest and the most exalted divine status of God is that of Kutubiyat, where the Kutub or the Sadguru or perfect master not only consciously experiences infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss, and all goodness, and all that is infinite beauty, meaning glory, but he consciously uses these infinite aspects for those Jivatmas still undergoing the illusory states of God in illusion. In this exalted divine status of Kutubiyat, not only man becomes God, but man lives the life of God too. To worship this man-God is to worship God with infinite attributes. This highest divine status of living the life of God consciously in human form is attained very, very rarely by very, very few Shivatmas. After the unconscious Atmas pass through the process of evolution, reincarnation, and involution of consciousness as Jivatmas and attain nirvana, which in some cases is immediately followed by nirvikalpa samadhi of superconsciousness, asserting as Shivatmas. At all times and in all ages and at one and the same time, there are always on this earth 56 Shiv Atmas, or God-realized Atmas. Of these 56 Shiv Atmas, some remain in the state of Majzubiyat, some remain in the state of the divine junction, in Turiya Avastha, known in Sufi terms as Fana Ma'al-Baka. A very few of them crossing the divine junction remain in the state of Salukiyat, and only 5 of them are always there in the state of Kutubiyat, as long as all these retain human forms. Thus, at all times and in all ages, there are always 5 Kutubs, Sadgurus, or perfect masters living on the earth amongst humanity, wielding infinite aspects of Ahadiyat, of the Arsh-e-Allah, or Vidyan of the Vidyan Bhumika, of the beyond state of God in the form of infinite knowledge, power, and bliss, for the progressive emancipation of all in the field of illusion. According to the divine law, these 5 Kutubs, or Sadgurus, or perfect masters, at the end of every cycle, precipitate the advent of the direct descent of God on earth in human male form. Hence, at the end of every cycle, when God manifests on earth in the form of man and reveals his divinity to mankind, he is recognized as the Avatar, the Messiah, the Prophet. The direct descent of God on earth as avatar is the independent status of God when God directly becomes man. Asterisk. Vana urbana, the state of God becoming man. The direct descent of God on earth as avatar. Baka ulbaka equals the state of God becoming God-man, God's knowing himself as avatar. State of ordinary man is the state of God as man. So the direct descent of God on earth as avatar is that independent status of God when God directly becomes man without undergoing or passing through the process of evolution, reincarnation, and involution of consciousness. Consequently, God directly becomes God-man and lives the life of man amongst mankind, realizing his divine status of the highest of the high, or the ancient one, through these kutubs or sadgurus or perfect masters of the time. Here we have note 28. Note 28, titled Advent of the Avatar, referring back to page 149. Being questioned as to whether or not the Avatar is the first individual soul to have become God realized, Meher Baba replied, "It was God who first became infinitely consciousness." Read that again. It was God who first became infinitely conscious. See explanation in God State 2b. All this means that God realized himself first. Simultaneously, God in his state 2a is infinitely unconscious. See explanation in God State 2a. The other states of God and all divine statuses are the outcome of God's state 2a, eternally aspiring to gain infinite consciousness. As a result of all this, we find that man becomes God. The Sadguru is man-God, i.e., man becoming God, and had to pass through the process of evolution and involution, whereas the Avatar is God-man, that is, God directly becomes man without passing through the process of evolution and involution. The five Sadgurus, Kutubs, perfect masters, effect the advent of the Avatar, Rasul, Christ, Buddha, on earth. And therefore, the advent of the first Avatar on earth was not possible without there first being the five Sadgurus to effect that coming. Consequently, in the beginning, the five perfect masters became realized first, and then took place the first advent of the Avatar on earth. Whether there have been 26 avatars since Adam, or 1 lakh and 24 thousands of prophets, as is sometimes claimed, or whether Jesus Christ was the last and only Messiah, or Muhammad the last prophet, is all immaterial and insignificant when eternity and reality are under consideration. It matters very little to dispute whether there have been 10 or 26 or a million avatars. The truth is that the avatar is always one and the same, and that the five Sadgurus bring about the advent of the avatar on earth. Thus has been going on This has been going on cycle after cycle, and millions of such cycles must have passed by and will continue to pass by without affecting eternity in the least. So back to 149. Fundamentally, there is absolutely no difference in the experience of reality whether the Shivatmas are in the divine status of Majzubiyat, Turiya, Avastha, Salukiyat, or Kutubiyat. Once the goal is attained, all Shivatmas in all divine statuses undoubtedly and consciously begin to enjoy forever and ever that divine heritage of infinite bliss, while spontaneously and continuously experiencing their own triune nature of infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss. And we have note 29 of the supplement. Note 29, titled Gnosis of the Seventh Plane. Meher Baba describes the gnosis of, quote, I am God, asterisk, after disembodiment, physical death, the gnosis of all of them continues endlessly to remain I am God. So Meher Baba describes the gnosis of I am God of the seventh plane belonging to a Majzub, an Azad, a Mutlaq, a Kutub, and a Rasul, respectively, as follows. 1. The Majzub, the Brahmi Bhut, Anal Haq. This means I am God endlessly. Number 2. Azad e Mutlaq, Jivan Mukta, Anal Haq with Hama Bamanast. This means everything is with me. 3. The Kutub, the Sadguru, Anal Haq simultaneously with Hama Manam. This means everything is me. Hama Dharmanast. This means everything is in me. Hama Asmanast. This means everything is from me. Number 4, the Saheb Ezaman, Avatar. And there's another asterisk, pointing out the subtle difference between the gnosis of the Kutub and the Saheb Zaman, Avatar. Meher Baba further explained, Kutub's gnosis is I am God and God is everything, where gnosis of Saheb Zaman is I am God and I am everything. So, number 4, Saheb Zaman Avatar, Anal Haq, simultaneously with Man Hama Am, this means I am everything. Man Dar Hama Am, this means I am in everything. Hama Asmanast, this means everything is from me. Hama Dharmanast, this means everything is in me. Back to page 149. However, the difference in their divine status is due not to their experience of their infinite triune nature, but to a difference in the scope of wielding infinite power and establishing themselves in the Vijnan Bhumika of infinite knowledge, or Salukiyat, and then living the life of man-God as Kutub, exercising their infinite knowledge to wield infinite power while enjoying infinite bliss. The difference between the divine status of a Kutub or Sadguru and the avatar of the age is that a Kutub, after having gone through the whole process of cosmic evolution, enters and lives the life of God as man-God, while the avatar does not have to go through the process of evolution at all, because the avatar is that highest status of God where God directly becomes man and lives on earth as God-man. In living the life of God, both the Sadguru or Kutub and the avatar or the Sahib-e-Zaman are equal in having the same experiences. Both are leading God's life, and also both are on every level and plane of life in illusion. Both are simultaneously on the level of the lowest to the highest. In spite of this, the most important and the only difference is that the Kutub acts on that level and the avatar becomes that on that level. Note number 30, the avatar and the Sadguru. That's the title. The sense Meher Baba wishes to convey is, when a Sadguru is said to be in good health or ill, all this is said and seen and felt by ordinary human beings. The underlying truth from the point of view of the Sadguru is that neither good health nor illness nor anything whatsoever affects or touches his being, infinity, in the least, because he is perfectly conscious, fully aware of illusion as illusory, and is thus fully aware that health and illness are both illusory, i.e., they are the outcome of the nothing. How could the nothing ever affect him? The Sadguru has overcome the impressions of nothing through the process of evolution, reincarnation, and involution, and he has realized that he is the everything, which of course includes the nothing. Even though the Sadguru remains within the law of creation, the law itself does not touch him. Sadguru means that the man has become God. Therefore, when man has become God, he can no longer be man, and if he has to live as man, he has to act, behave, or appear like a man by spontaneously putting into action, that is, demonstrating all the natural tendencies of man. Being a perfect master, the Sadguru enacts the part, or plays the role, or lives through the role, so perfectly on all levels and in all planes that under all circumstances, in all other respects, he appears to ordinary human beings as if he were a man amongst men of the gross world. He also appears as if he were one of the men in the subtle planes, for those who are in the subtle planes, and to those who are in the mental planes he appears as if he were one of them. The Sadguru is simultaneously on the level of the lowest and of the highest. On one hand, he is established in infinity, reality, and on the other hand, he is the master of illusion. Thus the Sadguru has under his sway the two extremes, and reconcilement between the two extremes could only be established and maintained throughout all intermediary stages and states by the Sadguru acting on all planes and on all levels simultaneously. In the case of the Avatar, the story is quite different. All the difference is contained in the fact that Sadguru means man becoming God, while Avatar means God becoming man. It is very difficult to grasp the entire meaning of the word avatar, For mankind, it is easy and simple to declare that the Avatar is God, and that it means that God becomes man. But this is not all that the word Avatar means or conveys. It would be more appropriate to say that the Avatar is God and that God becomes man for all mankind, and simultaneously God also becomes a sparrow for all sparrows in creation, an ant for all ants in creation, a pig for all pigs in creation, a particle of dust for all dusts in creation, a particle of air for all airs in creation, etc., for each and everything that is in creation. When the five Sadgurus effect the presentation of the divinity of God into illusion, this divinity pervades the illusion in effect and presents itself in innumerable varieties of forms, gross, subtle, and mental. Consequently, in avataric periods, God mingles with mankind as man and with the world of ants as an ant, etc. But the man of the world cannot perceive this, and hence simply says that God has become man, and remains satisfied with this understanding in his own world of mankind. Whatever be the understanding of man, the fact remains that the Avatar becomes and the Sadguru acts. The Avatar's illness has nothing to do with the taking on of karma of individuals. As the Avatar is God who has become man in all respects, there is no reason why he should not be susceptible to all the natural tendencies of a human being. After all, God has become man, and he is man indeed. But although the Avatar actually becomes ill as a man who falls ill, it must be remembered that he also has simultaneously the background of his infinite power, knowledge, and bliss. The Avatar never takes on the karma of individuals, but his godhood functions universally. So now we go back to page 150. I'll just read that last sentence again before the note in the supplement. In spite of this, the most important and the only difference is that the Kutub acts on that level and the Avatar becomes that on that level. To make the point of acting and becoming clear, many and innumerable examples can be quoted, but for ordinary human understanding, let illness serve as an example. For instance, a Kutub or a Sadguru cannot and will not fall ill, and when he appears to have fallen ill, it is just his acting of illness. When people actually see him ill, they do not see him ill, but in reality they see his illness, perfectly enacted, because he is the perfect master and perfection personified. He acts as if he were ill. On the other hand, when people see the Avatar ill, he has actually fallen ill, and he has literally become ill. But though the Avatar has actually become ill, he has at his back simultaneously infinite power, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss. On every level, in every state, and in all planes simultaneously, a Sadguru behaves as the creature or the thing of that level and state, and as a man of that plane, whereas the Avatar becomes as the creature or the thing of that level and state, and as a man of that plane all at once. And at one and the same time becoming and being one and all on all levels, states, and in all planes, and beyond all levels, states, and all planes. The avatar is the only one infinitely capable of giving a universal push to all things, all creatures, and to all mankind at one and the same time, accelerating the maturity of consciousness. In reality, God is everything and is in everyone. The avatar of God is not only everything and in everyone, but he actually becomes everything and everyone. Hence, the fundamental and only difference between an avatar and a Sadguru is that on every level and on all planes, a Sadguru acts, whereas an avatar does not act, but actually becomes that. Here we have note number 31, supplement. It's titled Action and Inaction. In the beyond state of God, there is unconscious action. Number 2, in the state of God realization, there is conscious inaction. This is the state of perfection, but not of the perfect master. In the intermediate state between number 1 and number 2, there is conscious action. Actions promote sanskaras, impressions. Sanskaras in turn breed more actions and create bindings. In this state there is bondage. Number 4. In the state of the Majzub of the seventh plane there is unconscious action. 5. In the state of perfect masters there is conscious active inaction. Perfect masters are free of sanskaras. They have no impressions. As such, there cannot be room for actions of their own. Their lives are of inaction, but made active because of the prevailing environmental circumstances. Actions of perfect masters are prompted by the environment, by whatever atmosphere prevails then. Examples. The beyond state of God may be compared with a child fast asleep in a cradle. It is an example of unconscious inaction. The state of the God-realized person, not a perfect master, may be compared with a child wide awake but still in the cradle. This is an example of conscious inaction. The state in between 1 and 2 may be compared with a child awake and out of the cradle. It is an example of conscious action. The state of the Majzub of the seventh plane may be compared with a somnambulist. The somnambulist walks about or performs other actions in sleep and is not aware of what he does in this state. Similarly, the Majzub of the seventh plane does actions, is not conscious of them. He is unconscious action. He eats, drinks, speaks, etc., but all this is unconscious action. The state of a perfect master may be compared with a child wide awake, but inside the cradle that is continuously rocked by mankind. It is conscious, active inaction. Inaction is being inside the cradle, and active inaction is the rocking of the cradle by others. Back to page 150. To make the point of acting and becoming clear, many and innumerable examples can be quoted, but for ordinary human understanding, let illness serve as an example. For instance, a kutub or a sadguru cannot and will not fall ill, and when he appears to have fallen ill, it is just his acting of illness. When people actually see him ill, they do not see him ill, but in reality they see his illness perfectly enacted because he is the perfect master and perfection personified. He acts as if he were ill. On the other hand, when people see the avatar ill, he has actually fallen ill, and he has literally become ill. But though the avatar has actually become ill, he has at his back simultaneously infinite power, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss. On every level, in every state, and in all planes simultaneously, a Sadguru behaves as the creature or the thing of that level and state, and as a man of that plane, whereas the avatar becomes as the creature or the thing of that level and state, and as a man of that plane all at once, and at one and the same time, becoming and being one and all on all levels, states, and in all planes, and beyond all levels, states, and all planes. The avatar is the only one infinitely capable of giving a universal push to all things, all creatures, and to all mankind, at one and the same time accelerating the maturity of consciousness. In reality, God is everything and is in everyone. The avatar of God is not only everything and in everyone, but he actually becomes everything and everyone. Hence, the fundamental and only difference between Avatar and the Sadguru is that on every level and on all planes, a Sadguru acts, whereas an Avatar does not act, but actually becomes that. So I just read a half a page again. Okay. In short, there are always, at all times and in all ages, 56 God-realized souls or Shivatmas in human form on the earth. And we have note number 32, titled Meher Baba on the Hierarchy. Meher Baba says, in each cycle of time, asterisk, in Vedanta, a cycle of time is called yuga, and an age is called kal. The Sufis call a cycle daur, or zaman, and an age wacht. Meher Baba says, in each cycle of time, which ranges from 700 to 1400 years, there are 11 ages of 65 to 125 years each. From the beginning to the end of each cycle, there are altogether 55 perfect masters, and that means each age, we have the same asterisk. In Vedanta, a cycle of time is called yuga, and an age is called kal. The Sufis call a cycle daur or zaman, and an age waqt. And that means each age has only 5 perfect masters. In the last, the 11th age of each cycle, the avatar, the Sahib Zaman, is also present. Besides the 55 perfect masters and the avatar, there are also 56 Majzub Kamil in each cycle. These Majzubs, who experience the state of Phanafila, are the sleeping or inactive partners in the conduct of the divine sport, Leela, of creation. Then we have a chart of perfect masters or Sadgurus and perfect ones, Majzub Kamil. In the first age, there's 5 Sadgurus and 7 Majzub Kamil, of which 4 leave the body immediately after realization. The second age, 5 perfect masters and 3 perfect ones. Third age, there's 5 perfect masters, 7 perfect ones, 7 Majzuba Kamil, of which 4 leave the body immediately after realization. The fourth age, there's 5 Sadgurus and 3 perfect ones. Fifth age, there's 5 perfect masters and 7 perfect ones, and of which 4 leave the body immediately after realization. The sixth age, there's 5 Sadgurus, 3 perfect ones. Seventh age, 5 perfect masters and 7 perfect ones. the Majzub Kamil, of which 4 leave the body immediately after realization. 8th age, there's 5 perfect masters and 3 perfect ones. 9th age, 5 perfect masters and 7 perfect ones, Majzub Kamil, of which 4 leave the body immediately after realization. 10th age, 5 perfect masters, 3 perfect ones. 11th age, 5 perfect masters, 6 perfect ones, of which 3 leave the body immediately after realization. In studying this table, we should remember that one cycle lasts for about 700 to about 1400 years and is made up of 11 ages. Each age lasts for about 65 to 125 years. Its length, like the length of the cycle, depending on material, spiritual, and universal circumstances. Number 2. In each age, the functioning hierarchy consists of 7,000 spiritual beings, either advanced or perfect. The advanced beings are on or between the first through sixth planes, and the perfect ones are either Sadgurus or Majzub. In each of the ages 1 to 10 inclusive, there are 5 Sadgurus Kutubs, one of whom is the Kutub Arshid, Irshad. Kutub Irshad. Number 3, in the 11th and last age of a cycle, the Kutub Irshad ceases to function as such as soon as the avatar, Sahib as Zaman or Savior, in person assumes his own office of Christhood, Muqam and Muhammadi. Thus the number of 5 Sadgurus in each age remains constant. Number 4. The perfect Majzub alternate in number in each successive age, there being 7 in the first age, 3 in the second, 7 in the third, and so on. In the 11th age, however, there are 6 Majzub Kamil. In those ages where there are more than 3 Majzub, i.e. the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th ages, the extra ones leave the body immediately after becoming realized, Majzub Kamil. This means that in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th ages, 4 out of the 7 Majzub die at once after realization, and that in the 11th and final age, in which there are 6 perfect Majzub, 3 die at once after realization. The result is that in any given age, only 3 Majzub remain in the body. Thus, from the point of view of the functioning hierarchy, there are really only 3 Majzub in each age. Meher Baba distributes the 7,000 members of the functioning hierarchy for a particular age in and between the 7 spiritual planes as follows. In the first plane and also between the first and second, between the second and third, between the third and fourth, between the fourth and fifth, between the fifth and sixth, and between the sixth and seventh, there are 5,600. In the second plane, there's 666. In the third plane, 558. In the fourth plane, there's 56. In the fifth plane, there's 56. In the sixth plane, there's 56. In the seventh plane, i.e. Majzub in the body, there's 3. Perfect masters, there's the Sadgurus, there's 5, and the total is 7,000. The avatar in the 11th age of each cycle brings the number to 7,001. There are always at all times and in all ages 56 God-realized souls, or Shivatmas, in human form on earth, and out of these 56, only 8 have public recognition and function as active members of the functioning spiritual hierarchy, consisting of 7,000 members, who do the assigned spiritual duties on various planes of consciousness according to their spiritual advancement or perfection. The remaining 48 God-realized ones are not amongst the functioning spiritual hierarchy of 7,000 members. They remain aloof, and people are not cognizant of their divinity, though all 48 have the same experience and enjoy the same divine state of I am God as the other 8. These 48 are, as it were, on the waiting list, ready to help in any spiritual contingency cropping up through one or more of the functioning members dropping the body. Out of the 8 God-realized souls who are at the head of the functioning spiritual hierarchy of 7,000 members, 5 are perfect masters who, besides having wide public recognition, have a duty to perform in the rendering of spiritual service and benefit to the whole of mankind. The remaining 3 are Majzub, who, in spite of having achieved godhood and remaining in the physical body, have no spiritual duty to perform towards mankind. Yet they are the source of spiritual benefit to all who come into contact with them. So it could be said that whereas the 5 perfect masters render spiritual advice to humanity as a whole, the few who come into contact with and serve the 3 Majzub draw spiritual benefit from them, while the 48 God-realized ones keep aloof from recognition and function until a gap is created in the functioning hierarchy by one or more of the 8 God-realized ones dropping the physical body. Go back to page 150. It must be noted that all of the 56 God-realized ones may be called perfect ones, but all of these 56 perfect ones are not all perfect masters, although all 56 experience the same experience of the eternal reality without the least difference of experience whatsoever. And although all the 56 are one in consciousness of the ultimate goal, reality, perfect in all respects and God-realized, yet there is a difference in their function. Therefore, the term for the 56 God-realized ones may be perfect ones, but not perfect masters or sadgurus or kutubs. Out of the 56 perfect ones or shivatmas in human form, there are always, at all times, in all ages, 5 perfect masters or sadgurus or kutubs, and these 5 control the affairs of the whole universe. When the age is not of the avataric period, these 5 perfect masters conjointly look to the affairs of the universe, and the one from amongst the 5 perfect masters who is responsible for the control of all the affairs of the whole universe is called by the Sufis, Kutub et Irshad. But when the ages of the avataric period at the end of every cycle, all cycles of time in illusion end and begin after 700 to 1400 years, and there have been and will be millions and billions of such cycles in a cycle of cycles. Thus there is no end to illusion, which always remains illusion. But when the ages of the avataric period at the end of every cycle, the avatar, ancient one, the highest of the high, the independent reality, infinite consciousness of the beyond state of God, is made to manifest in illusion directly on the earth through a male human being. This manifestation of infinite consciousness of the beyond state of God through a male human form on earth is commonly called the direct descent of God on earth in human form. This descent of God on earth is generally known as the Avatar. Hence, it is obvious that when the age is of the Avataric period, and when the Avatar, or the reality, or the God consciousness of the beyond state of God, is made manifest into illusion on the earth, by giving this reality a human form to be made presentable to the humanity of the world, this avatar, or this God-man, must necessarily be other than the 56 God-realized ones. The then existing and functioning 5 perfect masters at the appropriate time of the avataric period individually and conjointly bring about the advent of the avatar, and exercising their infinite mercy and love for all in ignorance, living the illusory life in creation, use their infinite power and grace to precipitate this advent and make manifest the infinite reality of the eternal infinite God consciousness in the beyond state onto this earth into illusion, and they bestow through their infinite power, knowledge, and bliss onto the reality a most suitable cloak of illusion in the shape of a human male form, so that the divinity of the reality may be made most presentable in the world of illusion. And we had note number 33, titled Advent of God as Avatar. The universe has come out of God. God has not come out of the universe. Illusion has come out of reality. Reality has not come out of illusion. God alone is real. The universe by itself is illusion. God's life lived in illusion as the Avatar and as perfect masters is not illusory, whereas God's life lived in creation as all animate and inanimate beings is both real and illusory. Illusory life, and God's life in illusion are not and cannot be one and the same. Illusion has no life and can have no life. Illusion is illusion and is nothing by itself. Illusory life means life in illusion, with illusion, surrounded by illusion, and though it is life as experienced by the soul in creation, it is illusory life. But God's life lived in illusion is not illusory, because in spite of living the illusory life, God remains conscious of his own reality. God is absolutely independent, and the universe is entirely dependent upon God. Yet when the perfect masters effect the descent of God on earth as the Avatar, they make reality and illusion interdependent, each upon the other, and thus it is that his infinite mercy and unbounded love are eternally drawn upon by those who are immersed in illusion. Between God and the universe, infinite mercy and unbounded love act as a prominent link, which is eternally made use of by men who become God, Sadgurus, perfect masters or kutubs, and by God who becomes man, Avatar, Christ, or Rasul. And so the universe becomes the eternal playmate of God. Through this prominent link, the Avatar not only established life in his divine play, but also established law in illusion. And this law, being established by the God-man or Avatar, is the law of the lawless infinite, and it is eternally real, and at the same time illusory. It is this law that governs the universe, all its ups and downs. Construction and devastation are guided by this law. At the cyclic period, God's independent absoluteness is made to work upon this law by the God-man as God's will, and this means that anything and everything that the avatar wills is ordained by God. Back to page 151. We'll just read that part again. Coming up to the note. The then existing and functioning five perfect masters at the appropriate time of the avataric period individually and conjointly bring about the advent of the avatar, and exercising their infinite mercy and love for all in ignorance, living the illusory life in creation, use their infinite power and grace to precipitate this advent and make manifest the infinite reality of the eternal infinite God consciousness in the beyond state. Onto this earth, into illusion, and they bestow through their infinite power, knowledge and bliss, onto the reality a most suitable cloak of illusion in the shape of a human male form, so that the divinity of the reality may be made most presentable in the world of illusion. Thus, when infinite reality, i.e. God, manifests on earth in the form of a man and reveals his divinity to mankind, he is recognized as the Avatar, the Messiah, the Prophet. God thus becomes man. In this manner, infinite God, age after age, throughout all cycles, wills, through his infinite mercy, to effect his presence amidst mankind by stooping down to human levels in human form. But his physical presence amidst mankind is not being apprehended. He is looked upon as an ordinary man of the world. When, however, he asserts his divinity on earth by proclaiming himself the Avatar of the age, he is worshipped by some who accept him as God and glorified by a few who know him as God on earth. But it invariably falls to the lot of the rest of humanity to condemn him while he is physically in their midst. Thus it is that God as man, proclaiming himself as the Avatar, suffers himself to be persecuted and tortured, to be humiliated and condemned by humanity, for whose sake his infinite love has made him stoop so low, in order that humanity, by the very act of condemning God's manifestation in the form of the Avatar, should, however, indirectly assert the existence of God in his infinite, eternal state of reality. The Avatar is always one and the same, because God is always one and the same. Asterisk. Mayor Baba was asked whether a perfect master after leaving the body ever comes back to Earth, i.e., does he ever take birth again? Baba replied, no, never. Only the Avatar takes birth again and again. Editor's note. The eternal, indivisible, infinite one who manifests himself in the form of man as the Avatar, as the Messiah, as the Prophet, as the Buddha, as the Ancient One, the highest of the high. This eternally one and the same Avatar is made to repeat his manifestation from time to time in different cycles, adopting different names and different human forms in different places, to reveal truth in different garbs and different languages, in order to raise humanity from the pit of ignorance and help free it from the bondage of illusions. During the Avataric period, the one from amongst the then living five perfect masters who used to function as Kutub Irshad ceases to hold this divine office with the advent of the Avatar and delivers his duty and charge of the sole responsibility for the affairs of the universe into the hands of the God-man as soon as he is able to assume his office as the Christ, the Avatar of the age, and remains himself as long as he is in a gross body, holding the same office of Kutub as the other four hold. In spite of the advent of the Avatar, there must be 56 God realized ones in human form, and from amongst these 56 there must be 5 perfect masters living on earth. When one from amongst these 5 perfect masters drops his physical body, the office is never left vacant. It is invariably filled by another living God realized one who has realized the eternal reality at the time. Hence, even when the Avatar is on earth, there are 56 God realized ones, including the 5 perfect masters in human form, but the Avatar becomes the sole authority. And thus we come to the end of the chapter or section called Evolution of Consciousness.